I was faced with a choice which I never should have had.
She was crying like I had never heard a woman cry before in my life.
And I just cried for weeks and weeks. Everything reminded me of a baby.
And I kept trying to get up from the table and look to see what was in that jar.
I was dealing with the loss of my unborn child and I didn't even know it.
I believe that my life was spared that night just so that I could be here right now and say abortion hurts women.
Whisper, be silent no more.
Welcome to Faces of Abortion. I'm your host, Cindy Collins, and I am with my co-host, Alan Parker, President of the Justice Foundation, and Clayton Trotter, General Counsel of the Justice Foundation. It's going to be a great show today, Alan.
It really is, Cindy. We're going to hear from Kathy, who's going to tell how she turned the tragedy of abortion into triumph. We're also going to hear from Dale and Millie Lace, who are the chief operators and architects of the National Helpline for Abortion Recovery. And they're going to tell you some incredible stories of people who've received healing and forgiveness after abortion.
That's right, Alan. And now we want to go ahead and hear Kathy's story in her own words.
Hi, I'm Kathy from Texas, and I want to tell you a little bit about my abortion story today. In 1973, I turned 18 years old in January, and the very next day, Roe v. Wade was legalized. Well, I got pregnant that weekend. I was a senior in high school, and I went to my mom, and I told her that I was pregnant and that I wanted an abortion. And I don't know why I said that, because abortion was such a new thing back then that I don't even remember hearing a lot about it, but that is what I wanted, she told me. So in April, we found a doctor. They didn't have clinics, and we had to find a doctor that would do them. So in April of 1973, I went to an OBGYN in San Antonio, and I had a 12-week abortion. My child was 12 weeks at that time. And like all of us, I thought it was over, and I thought I could go on with my life. But I found out that it's not that easy, because deep down in our hearts, we know what we're doing is not right. And I didn't know everything about the baby. I didn't understand what it was. But as the years went by and abortion became more public and there was more on TV about it and everything, I started realizing what I had done, that I had killed my child. And I went into a very deep depression, had a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and a lot of anger at everybody and at myself. And then in the early 80s, my husband and I became Christians, and I thought that would make it better, but it didn't. It actually kind of increased the guilt. I knew I was forgiven for everything, but I could never accept the forgiveness for that abortion, and I could not forgive myself. So I went on in my life and continued in the denial and continued in the pain until I hit a very severe depression, to the point where I just could hardly function anymore. And I still didn't know what was wrong. I had no idea why I was feeling like I was feeling, because we don't put the pain of today with the abortion of 20 years ago. And in about 93, God spoke to my heart and told me that I needed to take care of the abortion. And friends of mine at church, I remember I was in church that morning, and I was crying just hysterically, and a couple of my friends came over and asked me what was wrong, and I told them, and that's the first time in 20 years, besides my husband, that I had told anybody that I'd had an abortion. They told me that they knew of a Bible study that our Crisis Pregnancy Center did. Back then it was called PACE, Post-Abortion Counseling and Education. And it's a 12-week Bible study that takes you through the steps of guilt and grief and shame and depression. and then it helps you to find the healing from the pain of the abortion through this Bible study. Today we call it Forgiven and Set Free. And God has done such an incredible work in my life through this Bible study. I finished it in about 1994, and God called me to go to a training to facilitate this Bible study. And I went, and I have been facilitating it now since 1997, and I've had just the incredible privilege of seeing so many women healed through this Bible study. We think there's no healing, we think there's no forgiveness, we think we're stuck in this prison, but we're not. God does not want you stuck in that prison of pain. He wants to heal you, and I promise you, He will and He can heal you. I know He can. I've been there. I know it. He's done it in my life. He's done it in so many women's lives. And I just want to share one last thing with you. When we go through the Bible study, one of the things we do is name our child. And I had picked a name a long time ago for a little girl, and her name would be Nicola Dawn. And I named my child Nicola Dawn. And then in 2004, my son and his wife got pregnant, and they asked me if they could name their baby after my daughter. And I told them they could, and so now I have a beautiful granddaughter who is Nicola Dawn, and she's just a joy in my life. And to me, that is just a complete whole circle of God taking a horrible tragedy in my life and now turning it into this precious, precious gift. Thank you.
You've just heard Kathy's story of the pain and trauma that is caused by abortion, but also that there is help, there is hope, and there is healing for you if you have experienced abortion. We want you to call the National Helpline for Abortion Recovery. That number is 1-866-482-LIFE. There is someone on the other end of that line that wants to hear your story, reach out to you, listen to you, and offer you help and hope, just like the Forgiven and Set Free Bible study that you can find out about and finally find the peace that Kathy found in her life. And I know, Alan, that again, here we hear the story of a woman who has been hurt by abortion.
Yes, and this program really is about proclaiming liberty to captives. She talked about how she was in a prison for 20 years, and until that day when she told some other people in her church, she hadn't told anybody that she had an abortion. And the depression and the anger at all the people involved and the anger at herself just ate away at her for so many years. And we hear that over and over and over again from women who've had abortions, from little teenagers. And I particularly want to say to fathers and mothers who have that unwanted pregnancy in the teen years, you're not helping the girl to when you say have an abortion. You're inviting a lifetime of depression and anger into that girl's life.
And just such great hurt in that child's life, where a parent really should be protecting their child from that trauma that's associated with abortion for a lifetime.
Yes, and there are millions of couples waiting to adopt a child that the helpline can also get help with adoption services as well. And there's freedom from the pain, and there's adoption by Jesus Christ into the family of God.
Absolutely. And you know, Jesus said, I